Hello and welcome to the BYU Library Family History webinar. We're glad you could join us today. I'm Olivia Jewell and I'll be your host for this webinar. If you have technical difficulties during the webinar, please use the chat box and I can address your concerns. You are welcome to use the chat box during the webinar for comments, insights, and questions. However, all questions will be addressed at the end of the presentation. Our next webinar is on November 17th with Maureen Brady. She will be giving a presentation entitled Researching Religious Records. If you would like to access a previous webinar, please visit our webinar index on our website or search on our YouTube channel. All of our webinars are recorded and uploaded by the following Monday for your convenience. We also post links to recordings and other updates on our Facebook and Twitter accounts. For today's webinar, we are pleased to hear from Olivia Jewell, who will be giving a presentation on essential tools for the hobbyist genealogist. Before we begin, here's a little bit about Olivia. Olivia is the founder of the Family Connections Experiment, a project focused on connecting families past and present and measuring the psychological benefits of increasing those connections. She is also a professional presenter for genealogy and other educational conferences and served as a director and assistant director at her local Family History Center for 8 years. Amidst her busy schedule, she has learned to use her technological savvy and experience to teach busy people of all ages simple ways they can incorporate family history into daily life using modern technology to make it easy and fun. And if Olivia is ready, we'll turn the time over to her.
I love reaching the audience that comes to BYU. I think that it's where a lot of us start out learning what we're doing with family history, and it's where I started. So I'm grateful to be here. So this class is called Essential Tools for the Hobbyist Genealogist. It's actually a class that I taught at Roots Tech before it closed down from pandemic. And it was one I had a lot of fun putting together. So I was kind of sad when we never really got to teach it again because Discovery Days and things like that were closed. So I'm really excited to be able to share it with you. I've gone in and updated it. There's a lot of new things out there, and I'm just super excited to be here. So just to kick things off, let's talk about it. Being a hobbyist genealogist, where I came up with this term is I honestly consider myself a hobbyist genealogist. And everyone kind of laughs at me when I say that, but it's true because I'm not accredited and I haven't done, learned all of the proper techniques for all of the research. And that part is fun to me and I love it, but there's so much more to genealogy than just charts. And I love helping people discover all of the other parts of it. And I enjoy not only researching and finding people to add to my tree, but also I enjoy all the other aspects of it. And so that's a big part of this class, is just kind of opening up our minds to everything that's out there. So just to kick things off, let's see if you can relate to any of these. You might be a hobbyist genealogist if you can relate to there are no limits to what you can accomplish in your genealogy research when you are supposed to be doing something else. I know that is absolutely true for me. Another one I love. I am not addicted to genealogy. I can quit as soon as I find one more ancestor. If you have not said that before, then maybe you shouldn't be here. I'm just joking. This one, I love. So this one reminds me of my neighbor friend that I taught how to do genealogy. And she says, sometimes I pretend to myself that I have insomnia. What I really have is a lot of genealogy to do and an inadequate respect for tomorrow. I love that because the inadequate respect for tomorrow is definitely something I suffer from when I get going. All right. And then genealogy, where you confuse the dead and irritate the living. And my husband told me I had to include that one because it is unfortunately true. And this is the last moment. You're addicted to genealogy when you have more pictures of ancestors than your living relatives on your walls. That's the wall behind me as I'm presenting today. So that will give you an idea, but I have no idea what they're talking about. I'm not addicted. So, all right. So to get a little more serious, let's talk about hobbies for a second and why are hobbies so great? I love this quote from Bill Malone. He says, hobbies are great distractions from the worries and troubles that plague daily living. And I love that because we'll talk about it a little bit more, but I really have come to, in the last 2 years, spent a lot of time exploring the psychological benefits of genealogy and family history research and the power that comes from connecting. And so I love that not only can genealogy do that, but hobbies do that. And so if we can combine that power, I think there's a big power here. And then I love this one from Guy Black to kind of lead us into how we're going to break this class down. He says, I wish I had realized that family history is a perishable commodity. It disappears with time as memories fade and as loved ones pass on. I wish I had known that the most important aspect of family history is preserving a record of the present for the future. And I think when I first started family history and genealogy research, I neglected that fact. I thought, the records were all that mattered, and I'd always have my books and research notes out, and that was what I saw. But I had a huge turning point in my life several years ago, and ever since then, I've been teaching family history and how to expand that view. So, to break our class down today, we are going to ask ourselves a couple of questions. The first one is, what's your story? What parts of your story need to be preserved? Think about it that way. What if you were to pass away tomorrow? What parts of your story would you wish you had left behind? What message would you love to leave for your posterity? What's the next one? Which family memories are about to disappear? Think of your extended family who is getting close to passing away. What valuable memories did they hold that you can still get, that you can still go collect from them? Which family lines do you feel drawn to? I think this is an important one because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but for me, when I start working on a family history line, I definitely am more excited to work on it, and I stay focused if it's a family that I'm feeling drawn to. So I always like to focus on the family lines I'm feeling drawn to, and usually I have a lot more success on those ones. And then, do you desire to share what you've learned? What parts of what you've been learning are you dying to share with your kids, your grandkids, your parents, your grandparents, your neighbors, and your friends? And we'll talk a little bit more about that when I talk about the 21-day connections experiment too, because there's some really great connections there. But these will kind of help us break it down into what is the story of you? What is your story? What is your family's story? What is your, not what is, but let's discuss how we can explore your family tree, and then how can we make it fun for those that we love and those that we want to share it with. So those are the 4 categories. I broke everything down in today, and I'm just going to break it into tools that fit and help you fulfill that part of your story and that part of your family's history. So before we dig completely in, I'm just going to admit, I think I've gotten a little better with age, but I do tend to talk fast and get really excited because I love researching tools for genealogy. It is one of my favorite things. And then once I discover it, it is my favorite thing to share with other people. So sometimes I get going, and but I want to say today is the beautiful thing about this class is it's being recorded, so you can go back and watch it. But I always say, just take what stands out to you and what really resonates, make a quick note, but know that I have a recap slide at the end with all of the tools for each section all in one slide. So it'll make it easy to put it all together and just take a screenshot of that. Other than that, just take what sits and what resonates and ignore the rest. And that's totally great. So let's start with your story. All right. So your story starts with things like saving your memories and your photos and your stories and figuring out the best ways to do that. So of course, when you're thinking of your story, you're going to start with journaling. That's the first thing that we go to for writing and things like that. So the first tool I'm going to share with you, I've been sharing this tool for years, but I still love it and I still recommend it, is Journey. It's a journaling app, but I'm going to tell you there's so many journaling apps out there. There are endless different kinds. The main thing that I would tell you to look for if you're going to get a journaling app is something that's going to give you reminders, because let's face it, we all need reminders on our phone and things to keep us doing those things we've committed to doing. And then also journaling prompts. I think journaling prompts are really, really helpful, because sometimes when we're writing our own story, it's hard to know where to start. So yeah, the day-to-day writing is good, but if you can encourage yourself to start writing your life story, I think if you can find something like with that type of prompt is really beneficial to you. Journey and other ones also will sync across different platforms and different devices, and that helps you so you can use it and do it on any device, which can make it so that you don't have to be at home in your office to write that journal entry. And so those are things that I love to look for. My next tool is Marco Polo. Now, I wish this was interactive, because that is the part that I love to ask is, are you using Marco Polo? And if you are, have you ever thought to use it as a journal? I was really excited when this occurred to me a few years ago, and I've started, and I love doing it now. For me, it's really natural. I don't think Marco Polo is a supernatural app when you first start using it, but once you start using it and you get used to it, you are like addicted. So for those of you who don't know, Marco Polo is a video messaging app. So instead of a text message, you record a quick video of yourself saying whatever you're going to say. It sends it to whoever you send it to, and then they can respond. And so it's got the benefits of discussing things on your timeline like a text message does, but it has the perks but it has the feel of like saying it to someone, right? As opposed to where you can lose a lot in the translations of a text. Someone can read it differently than you meant it. So I love Marco Polo, and I use it to keep in touch with my family. But as a journal, all you have to do, you can see right there, I have one called Just Me at the top, and that's my journal. And all I did was went in and I created a group, but I never added anyone to it, and I called it Just Me. And then I also did one called Family Journal. So I've done it a couple different ways, and that Just Me, I'll click on it and I can just put a message, say a couple of things. I'm used to sharing my thoughts with my family and different friends on Marco Polo. So now it's just, I journal the same things. And sometimes I'll even just forward a message. If I tell a friend or a family member a long story about my day or something, updating them on my life, sometimes I'll just forward it to that one. So that it's all in my journal as well. So that's a fun way to do that. Now, a couple of you might be asking, how do you save it? Because your Marco Polo videos are saved to the cloud. I just long press the video, and then this option pops up to do save. Now that is part of a paid, that saving option is part of a paid version of Marco Polo. And so my workaround for that, because I want to try to make everything as free as possible that I'm going to share today, and I'll let you know when they aren't free. But when you use Marco Polo, if you want to do a workaround, you can just play it and do a screen record it. Almost pretty much every phone has a screen record option on there. So you can just screen record and then save that. So that's a workaround for saving those journal entries, because I don't think the video quality is necessarily critical to me as much as the stories and the things that I get from that. So using Marco Polo for journaling is my second tool. All right, my next one is Storyworth. Now, Storyworth has been around for quite a while. I think it's been around as long as Rootstack has, which is probably 10, 11 years, 12 years now, I guess. And I love Storyworth. I have been using it since the first year they were there. So it's probably been about 9 or 8 years, but it is so wonderful. If you're not using it, you should look into it. Now, this is one of them that isn't free, but it is worth every single penny. They have an annual fee, but what I love about it is you can set up your storytellers. And for this section of this class, I use it for storytelling. So for my own journal. So you can see right there, I have your stories. I can set it up with questions that I want it to ask me, or I can just have it set up to ask me different questions each day that it populates for me. So what it does is it sends me an email and asks me the question. I can type the email response back, and then it will save it in a library I'm going to show you right here. So this is like my dad's library, and you can see that it has as a link if you've answered it. So now I can click on any of those links and hear that or read that story. It will also let us record it. So if I didn't want to respond to an email, if I was better at responding vocally, I can have it call me with the same question and I can respond. So really great tool. You can set it up for once a week, twice a month, once a month. You can select those different things. And then one of the other things that I love is that you can change who gets to hear it. So you can set up each storyteller as someone, like I only share my stories with my husband and my parents, but my parents' stories we share with all of our siblings, things like that. So you get a lot of control over that, and you can make up your own questions and things like that. Storyworth, well, we'll go into it a little bit more when we talk about it the next section, but I just think it is an incredible tool. It's not a huge price tag, but you can gather stories from people that you never would have otherwise, including yourself, because honestly, I am way better at responding to that than I ever would be at sitting down and trying to write my whole life story, right? And they're great ones. Like, I love this question: did you ever take any great road trips? They're just simple questions that inspire a story and pull out different things from your life. So it's a really great way to gather your story. All right, so that's Storyworth. Okay. I have a couple of life hacks that I built into this presentation because I love technology. It is my favorite. And so as I learn and discover cool tricks, I want to share them. And as I was prepping this class, I was like, oh my goodness, everyone needs to know how to do this. And some of you may already know how, and that's great. So I'll just do it really quick. But Storyworth is not an app, and we're trying to do things that we can do on the go because we're hobbyist genealogists. We want to be able to do it in our daily life. It's not something we can take a lot of time and sit down with, right? So life hack number one is creating shortcuts to websites, because several of the tools I'll show you today won't be apps. They will be websites. And so I will still create a shortcut on my phone so that I can then have one folder on my phone full of all of my genealogy tools. So on an Android, I'll show you, and then I'll show Apple next. You're going to go up to your browser up in the right-hand corner. Usually on some browsers, it's a little different, but you're looking for add to home screen right there. And when you click on add to home screen, it will pop up and ask you what you want to name it. And then you just click add. And then it will create a cute little icon like that. So it looks like an app, and it will add it to your phone screen. And then I file it into a file called family history so that it goes with all my other family history apps. Anyway, that is the shortcut for an Android. And then on an Apple, it's at the bottom on your, I think it's Safari on an Apple. I'm an Android user, but whatever your browser's called, it's not Safari. I can't remember. You just go down on the bottom and swipe up, and then you click that little button right there, and that creates a shortcut. And then you just click add to home screen. And then once again, you can rename it right there and click add, and then it goes onto your home screen. So that's either one, you can do it. That's a great life hack. All right. Social media apps are the next step in journaling. And my reason for this is a few years ago at Roots Tech, Steve Rockwood made a comment about our generation being the greatest generation of journalers, but we just call it social media. And I love that because it's so true. We are documenting our lives all the time, almost daily, a lot of us, maybe even more than that. And I feel like we just need to take one extra step to preserve those memories. And then we're journaling and preserving. If we did nothing else, then we are preserving those things. And it's so simple. There's things like chat books and different ways you can download your posts. So it's worth looking into those and making sure you're preserving those stories that you're putting out there as well. My next one is Google Photos, and you'll find quickly in here that I am a Google lover. I always have been, and I probably always will be. And I just think Google Photos, but I'll go ahead and stick it out there and say Amazon Photos would work, or iPhotos as well. And they all have some of these same features. So basically, some of the things that you're looking for here is just realizing that when you're taking your photos, you're already journaling. Like, look at it as a journal. So make sure that you're saving them. So many people lose their phones and then they lose their entire photo library. Don't let that be you. Save them. Make sure they're being automatically backed up to the cloud. Most systems have it already set up. You just have to make sure it's turned on, because so many people assume that it is and it's not. So double check, make sure you've got that auto backup, that it's auto saving to the cloud. And then make sure that a couple of the tools that I love are things like auto creations, like Google will create auto albums. I think I took some pictures in here. Yeah. So it will automatically recognize that I'm somewhere new, and it will build an auto album. All I have to do is go in there and put a few notes, and now it's become a journal, right? So Google does the work for me, and I just have to make it take a few notes. It's a journal on its own, but if I take some notes, it'll help me with those memories. And then I can share it with any of the people who attended that trip with me, or whatever event it was. Auto creations also give you recaps like Facebook does. And I love that because it creates good connections with your family, and you share them with them and things like that. So looking at those can be a really fun way to use it for journaling and for family history and connecting. All right. Oh, that's another one that I want to make sure I mention. What I've done with each of my kids. So this is a good family history tip. I set up a Google account for each of them. Now they're all too young, but so I don't have them have access to it, but I've set it up so that I can auto share. So my Google Photos account auto shares to their own Google Photos account. So I picture back in the day when I had to go scan all the photos from my mom's house, and we were sorting and had to decide who got which photo. And with Google Photos, it doesn't matter. They can all be in the same picture. It shares it to all of them. They all have a copy. And when they get older, they'll just have a full copy of their whole life pictures. And I don't have to do a thing because I already set it up and Google does the rest. So one of the things I love about it. All right. Next is your family story. So how can we preserve our family story? What are some of the things we need to do that? So first, let's talk family journaling. So some of these tools are going to be the same, and I'll kind of expand on how you can use them. But the first one I want to start off with is Keepsake. Keepsake is such a cool tool. I love it. So it was created to be a baby journal, a baby book creator. And what I use it for is I put every member of my family, I put even my husband. So sometimes people think that's weird, but I even put my husband in there. And sometimes I ask questions that aren't applicable to a husband, but a lot of them are like, what's your favorite thing Eric Jewell did this week or whatever, things like that. And I can respond to it. And how it does it is it sends me, I set up the storyteller or the journalers, and then it sends me a notification, either a push notification or a text, however I prefer. And then I can respond right there when I get the notification. And a lot of them are simple questions I can answer, but it also creates a whole library of questions I missed, so that when my daughter comes home from school, if I just want to spend some time with her, I can say, hey, let's answer a few of these. And I'll open it up, click on her name, and we can answer some of her questions. And it creates a really fun bonding moment, but I'm also helping her preserve her story. So I'm just going to show this a little bit so you can kind of see, but basically you can add photos, and you can do only 1 or 2 questions a week. You can go do up to 5 or 6, I think. It gets a little overwhelming, so I don't recommend too many per week, but give yourself a couple, and you'll be documenting and keeping your family's journal along the way. So those are some fun ways to do that one. All right, so StoryWorth, again, we won't expand on it a lot, but obviously you can invite your whole family in. The one I want to make a note of is my grandma here. You can see I have 95 stories of grandma. And what I love about this is that my grandma and we don't really it's not one of those relationships where we sit around and talk a lot. And so I have gathered so many stories of her, and my dad too. I've found that it's really hard for me to gather stories of my parents. I don't know why. It's easier to ask grandparents for some reason. I don't know if you guys can relate to that, but for some reason, there's some disconnect. And I've gathered all these stories of my dad just by sending him questions. And, all of my parents go in and out of wanting to do StoryWorth, but when they're doing it, they send so many, and it's valuable. These are stories I would never have gotten otherwise. So that's another way you can use StoryWorth. Okay. And then Marco Polo, I kind of mentioned it, but I also use that for my family journal. So you can see there, and I'm going to show you here. What I'll do is I'll pull a question. I'll use 52 stories from Family Search, and I'll grab a question off of there, and then I type it in on a sticky note. And once again, that's part of the paid version, the sticky notes. But if you wanted to do it, you can just ask the question vocally. And even if you didn't have the paid version, you can just ask it vocally, and then just wait for each of your siblings to respond. And then you can download it again and save those, or do that screen record. And now you're saving stories. And it's been really, really fun for my sisters and I to share how we all remember certain things. And it's hilarious to discover how much we remember them differently. So I totally recommend that. Marco Polo is a great connection app, no matter what. I can't say enough about Marco Polo for those types of things, but consider using it in unique ways to build your family history and make it better. So then that takes me into interviewing, which the Marco Polo one kind of works for that, but let's talk seriously, interviewing our loved ones. So this is ACR. This one's called Audio Call Recorder. There are so many different ones on there. It really doesn't matter which one you choose, but basically you install an audio call recorder on your phone. And what it'll do is it'll give you the option to decide if you want to record all your calls. And so all you have to do is make a phone call and turn it on, and then it'll offer for you to pause it when you're going. So talk with your mom about whatever you want to, have your list of 52 stories from Family Search, or the Family Connections Experiment has a great list of interview questions you can use. Use one of those for your questions, and then just talk for just a few minutes. Make it a goal to just do it once or twice a month, or even once a week, or, if you're awesome, do it every day. That'd be awesome, right? So then when you're done talking, hit pause and end that call, and it will ask you if you want to save it, and then you can make edits to it and just change the name. You can send it, share it, whatever, add it to your Google Drive or something else. So it is awesome because you can gather so many stories. Because for me, my biggest hurdle in interviewing is that as much as I love my grandparents, I find it really hard in my busy time of life to get there. And then if I am there, I have my kids and they're going to be loud. And how do I get that? Right. But if I do this, I can have this great conversation with grandpa, and, record it and gather his stories without having to, deal with all of those other, whatever you would call them, outside sources. So anyway, that's one of mine that I love. Okay, you probably all have Memories by Family Search on your phone. If not, shame on you. No, I'm just joking. But if you don't get it, it is a great tool, and it's not something you necessarily will have to use every day, but it's so nice to have it when you do. I think it's an incredible tool for all of those times when you're at a family get together. That, or the other one that I love it for, is when I'm at someone's, like an aunt, a great aunt, someone who has some family history that I would love to get, but they're not really willing to share it because they don't know me well enough or whatever. They're not going to let me take it and scan it. Those are the types of things I use it for. So for this first section with interviewing, it's a great tool for just recording audio. You can see there's a record audio button. When you click on it, it pops up a list of questions, and you can record it directly into this app. And then after you're done recording, it will let you tag it and put it straight on Family Search. And then if you do it right then, as you're thinking about it, you can remember all the people that were mentioned in the audio recording, so you can tag it better and get it all hooked up onto your family tree. So I think that's a really, really great app for interviewing and gathering stories. There is a limit that you can only do 5 minutes, I believe. So just know that you might have to stop it and start again. That's okay. Okay, memories. So the next section with families is memories. Like, so we want to interview them and gather the stories, but we also want to gather memories like photos and different things like that, right? Like heirlooms, all of those things that are out there. So PhotoScan by Google is one of my favorites for this because it takes a really decent scan if you don't have a scanner, right? So that scenario of my great aunt's not going to give me this picture, but I really want to capture it because I don't know if I'll get another chance. So all you have to do is you go in, you open this Google Photo Scan on your phone, and you'll see it'll pop up these 4 dots. And then you just follow your camera around on the 4 dots, and it circles it and kind of tells you when to move it. You don't have to worry about the glare because it figures it out for you. And you can see right here, voila, it created a picture, a well-scanned picture. And I don't know how well it's showing it for you, but my version on my computer is a decent quality version. And I would be really pleased with it if I had nothing else. So one of my next recommendations is, well, first of all, this is awesome because it's going to automatically upload to your Google Photos because you've set that up on your phone, right? So it's going to auto go there, and that's just backing it up. But then I say, take out your Memories app and upload it right away. So click that button and select add photos. You can take the picture right in the app, but I recommend using Google Photos just because it does get rid of that glare. It just takes a better scan than the Memories app does. And then the reason I went back is I just want to mention that you want to do it while they're there, so that if you can get the insights from your great aunt, you can write a story about that picture right then and right there. And it can be a great resource for later. And you don't have to remember the details because you'll type it in Family Search and you can always go back and look it up. So even if something happens, you never make it back to that great aunt's house, you've got that preserved. So, all right, now this is the good stuff, right? Our family trees, this is the stuff that we love. So of course, we want to preserve our memories. Of course, we want to preserve our stories. Those are those valuable commodities that will go away and eventually not be able to be preserved. But we also love climbing our family trees. So what are some of the tools we could do? Because when I think of family history, before I started teaching these classes, it was like, okay, I'm going to get out my research notes and I'm going to get out my binders and I'm going to open Family Search and I'm going to try to open like 3 different screens because let's be real, I've got so much open, right? And I'm just doing some digging research. But a big change in my life was when I started learning that it didn't have to be like that. It could be done in simple little ways. And that's hopefully what we can explore today. So to build our tree, what are some of the great tools that we can use? So obviously we're going to start with Family Search, Family Tree. There are some incredible tools within Family Search, Family Tree, starting with just being able to explore your tree. And a recent update, somewhat recent, is that you can turn it into a fan chart view now. And that's my favorite one. I default to that now because I feel like it's a funner navigation for me. But just being able to explore it. But now we actually want to build it. So what's our best way to do that? They've changed the name, but it's called tasks now. So this Ancestors with tasks, you can click on that and it's going to pop up this view over here. Now you can filter it so that you can see just record hints. And that's what I've done here. So when you see that blue circle, if you don't know what a record hint is, probably most of you do, but just for those of you who don't, a record hint is the magic of technology serving you a record from all of the people who've been contributing with indexed records. They're serving you a record that they believe matches your ancestor. So they're using all the awesome algorithms and technologies available at Family Search to provide you with a record hint. Now, all the other sites have this too, and we'll talk about that in a second. But what's great about this is if you just attach a couple of record hints a day, you build this beautiful tree without even knowing you're doing it. And so that's one of my favorite things. I did a 21-day challenge at one point, and I said, I'm just going to attach record hints. And so I attached at least one record hint per day. And by the end, I sat down at my computer at the end of the 21 days and just to see what I had accomplished, because, you know, sometimes it's hard to get the full perspective until you like sit down and kind of dig in. And when I did, they had been mostly on that same family, and I had found 21 new people. And obviously I had to do more research to like solidify all of that, but I was so excited. It was just because generally those record hints are the end of lines where someone else has been working. And so it's put in a little bit of new data, which then searched for some new records and then created this record hint. So it's a great way. Not only, I even tell newbies to start trying this because you become really familiar with records and what's available within a record. You also become more comfortable and start understanding like the margin of errors that are there and things like that. So whip out your record hints anytime. I recommend it at the baseball game or whatever in between innings, you know, football games. Let's be honest. I go to a lot of BYU football games and it's like double, right? Like there's a whole replay in between each one. So you could do one record hint in between each. No, I'm just teasing, but you get the gist. Just do it in any of those sit down times, waiting in the doctor's office, things like that. And then you can get a lot done that way. The other one is that you can search your historical records from this app. And right now we're just talking about how we can use it to build our tree. So those are the two main ones that I want to point out. And you can use it to help someone else. Like as you're building your tree, you can be adding different things. Another way that I actually use this one that I love is being able to research when you're out and about doing like, so if you're at a cemetery and you're like, okay, so how is that person related? Like, I know they are because they're in the same section, sticking the name in there and then seeing if you can find them in Family Search and how they're attached or related. All right. Okay, so I said that we'd mention the other ones. So we also have Ancestry, MyHeritage, Find My Past. There's other sites too, but these three, if you have a subscription to them, I absolutely recommend installing all of them on your phone and getting your tree set up on all of them because all of them have different records. I love doing the research to find out what record sets each one has, but they all have so many different records. They do have overlaps, but they have so many different ones. And I think that's an important thing that a lot of hobbyist genealogists miss is that all of these sites have different resources available to you. You can use a Family Search Family History Center to have access for free to any of them. And I absolutely recommend getting those set up because it is worth getting those record hints in all of those places. All right. So the other part of researching and adding to your tree is actually the research and the notes. And that's a big one for me because it can be when you're doing it more like a hobbyist, you're not tracking as much what you're doing, right? And so I think it's important that we come up with some good, easy, quick ways that we can do that. So so the first one I'm going to recommend is the Research Wiki. Okay. If you don't know, because once again, we're talking to hobbyists, right? If you don't know much about the Research Wiki, and I can't tell you how many times I've told my mom about this, and she still doesn't like using it because she hasn't learned. Go learn. It is such an incredible tool. The Research Wiki will help you no matter where you end up. I honestly was like a self-taught genealogist because I just learned the wiki. I learned how to use the wiki and it's taught me every type of research I've learned to do. Why? Because professionals contribute to the Research Wiki. It's professional people in there adding things. People who know what they're doing are telling you, here's the best way to do the research in this area. So learn how to use the Research Wiki. It will teach you so much. And then they also have guided research. You can see right there. The guided research is such a cool tool. For newbies, get in there, learn, and it will guide you through researching it'll give you some step-by-step instructions for researching somewhere specific or a person, and it guides you through some of that. And then you can see there is a new to the wiki button. Okay, This is the first one, I think, that I'm going to also reference back and say, remember life hacks number 1, because the wiki is not an app, but you can create a shortcut once again in your folder and stick it in that same family history folder so you can access it anytime from your phone. The next one is Ancestry Academy. I love this tool. This one is awesome because they have tons of just 2 to 3 minute videos. Some are like a little longer, but they're all from professionals teaching you how to get going on family history, and it will teach you different regions and areas, how to use the ancestry, but it's not just ancestry specific. They're all great methodologies and things like that. And they're quick and they're easy. So it's not like sitting down for an hour-long webinar, it's getting little snippets, and I love that. And they will let you create, if you get this app, you can create playlists, and then you can listen to and watch your own videos, whichever ones you want to watch, and just kind of watch them in order. So once again, at the doctor's office, waiting in line to pick up a kid, or whatever, whatever those things are, when you have some time, just whip one out and learn something new today. It's a great tool. Oh, there we go. All right. The Family History Guide. Also one of my very favorite tools. I always tell everyone to start here because once again, it's free and it has amazing how-tos and tutorials on all of the big sites: Family Search, Ancestry, MyHeritage, and Find a Grave. Find My Past. Sorry, that's small. But you can go in there and you can learn activities. You can learn different countries and different things like that. The point is there's a ton of them and they're short. They're easy to follow. If you don't have a genealogist near you, then this is an excellent way to just start learning for yourself. So once again, life hack, create a shortcut because it is a website, but you can put it in your phone. All right, so this leads me to life hack number 2. Now this tool is, it's a tool, but also a life hack because I love Google Keep. I use it for everything all the time. One of the things that I like just for your regular life, and this is what makes it a life hack, is I use it for menus. Like I just build my whole menu on there. I can check it off and have links to recipes. I build it for shopping lists, and then I share it with my husband, and then we can, whoever ends up at the store can order from it, right? So it's just like a great life tool. You can color code and things like that. But when it comes to family history, I love using it because the reality of my life is if I sit down and I am working on my family tree, I cannot guarantee that I will be back soon. I can say, oh, I'm going to come back tomorrow because I love this, but I can't guarantee that. So I will make notes in my Google Keep of where I'm at and how things are going. And then my mom and I have a shared keep list, and when we work on the same families, we can keep each other updated on where things are at. And so if the next thing is, oh, I need to get to a family history center to view this this record, then if one of us gets there, then we can save it, take a screenshot, whatever, or take a picture and then send it to the other and save it within that keep note. And so that makes it a lot easier for us to stay in good communications and things like that. The other way that we can do that is I use it for reminders to do things. So like the journaling reminders and things like that. And then another big one is like BYU has an education week, and then Roots Tech, obviously the genealogy conference. When I go to things like that, I love taking notes, and in Keep, you can store a whole bunch of photos with your notes. And so it's a great way when you're taking a genealogy class or something, you can tag it so you can find it later and things like that. And then basically, if I'm like, oh, I know that class at Roots Tech was so good and it taught me something, but I can't remember what the tool was, I can just type in whatever keyword I can think of and it'll search all my Keep notes and help me find it. So it's just a notes tool, and you might have your own, but Google Keep is free and I love it, and you can share it and you can have it on all your devices, and I use it literally all day long. So it's a great tool. All right. Google Drive. We're going to go through Google a little bit for a second here. So Google Drive is a great tool. It's a must-have for genealogists because when you have something and you've been working on it and you've got your notes, but you left it on your computer at home, there is nothing worse than that. Than when you get to the BYU library and you're like, oh, I needed help on this, but I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's on my computer at home. Google Drive makes it so that never happens. So it's just like kind of like Microsoft Office, and there's other versions out there too. So, and it's gotten better since COVID. There's so many more tools out there. And so just finding some way to store your files online in the cloud is what I'm really recommending here. here. But using it for storing and sharing your photos and your records. So, you know, when I take that picture of that family member, or if I've scanned a whole bunch of pictures, I can share it in Google Drive. Maybe not all of it's like either appropriate or like worthy maybe of family search. I can still share everything I scanned with my family and just give them a link, and then they can download what they want. So I love having Google Drive for that, but I also love it for doing research notes and things like that. So I'm going to show you. So I have a spreadsheet that I just built, and this is how I do my family group sheets. So for me, this helps me keep track of things as I'm researching them. And then also you can do a research log. But I'll admit I'm not a huge research log person. And so that actually leads me into my next tool, and that is Goldie May. Goldie May is an incredible tool. It's only a couple years old. It came out, I feel like, right before COVID, which was unfortunate because it's such an incredible tool, but hopefully COVID maybe helped it get some traction, and maybe you guys have had that webinar before. If not, I totally recommend finding it and Googling it and learning more about it, because it's a really awesome tool. But basically Goldie May has a whole bunch of, it's a Chrome extension. So you install it onto your computer. So it's not one you can use on your phone, but you install it onto your web browser. And then once you open a research, so I'm going to show you here. Once you open a research page, so I was researching Martha Allen today, and I wanted to discover if she really was married to the person we had her married to. I wasn't sure, and we wanted to see if Elizabeth Chambers was really her daughter. So as I was digging, I go in and I can create a new project. There's research logs, subway maps, and I'll show you what each of those is really fast. And then it goes down and there's a canvas, a workspace, and then volunteering. So I'll show you a couple of them really fast. So when I create a new project, I can just make put the person's information and basically make notes of the things I need to figure out. And then I can click on the little button next to the edit button and the bars there, and that's going to create me a research log. So that looks like this. Now what you can do is auto logging, and then as you're researching, it automatically is logging all the different pages you went to. And so when you look at it, you can heart it and say, yes, this was good, or thumbs down, I don't like it, or you can make notes, or you can delete it if you end up checking your email by accident. You don't want to log in, that's fine too. So it's a really, really great tool, because I hate research logs, but this helps me keep track of my research without me having to take the time to write it down. It's like such a time saver. The subway map is a cool tool if you want to be able to view your ancestors' life events in like a special order. Like you can see if something's way off, the map will go crazy a little bit if things are off. So it's a great tool for researching. And then the canvas is super cool. I believe this one's with the paid version. The rest is all part of the free one. But the canvas, how often, I have this happen so much. How often do you have like 6 censuses that you're like, I just need to compare them side by side, and I never want to print them because I'm just like, oh, and then they're too tiny, right? So now you can stick them onto this canvas. You can even clip out chunks of it. So you're just comparing that family to that family to that family, and you can stick it on this canvas. So you just take a screenshot of it, it puts it on the canvas, and then you go get a screenshot of the other one. It is such a cool tool. I think it is amazing. So that's a fun one. And then the last one is actually, I think it's called Tabs, and saving windows and tabs. And that one is also part of their paid version, but I'm going to show you a life hack for this one, because I discovered this one a few years ago and I use it constantly, especially with family history. So if you can relate to me, and when you're doing research, it looks way worse than what you're seeing on my screen right now. It's like, 16 windows, and there's probably 20 tabs on each window, right? Because you get researching and you're like, but I need to check that with that one and that one and that one. And it just becomes this crazy, crazy mess. If you install one tab in your extension, in your Chrome extensions, then you can do this magic button. And this is a little video, so I'm going to play it and let you watch it. But basically, you click the one tab extension and it will automatically close all of the window and store it into one tab page. So you can see it says 4 tabs there. Now it says 6 tabs, and it's closing all of the tabs that I had open. What's great about that is that it's making it so that if you leave all those windows open, you'll probably notice that it's killing the RAM on your computer. Chrome's gotten better over time, and so it doesn't do it as bad, but it slows your computer down when you have so much open. So if you close them down like that, then you don't have to worry about clogging up your computer, but you can go back. I'm going to play it one more time just so you can watch it, but then you can go back and you can see after they've been closed, you can name them. And then if you don't come back for a couple of weeks, you can start right where you left off that day. So I'll usually name them the date of the research and then the name of the family I'm working on. And then that way, when I go back, I'm like, okay, I'm going to open all these and then I'll be able to start off right where I left off. And I don't have to worry about my kids coming in and messing up my computer and closing my tabs. So this is me restoring it here. So you can see it's just reopening them to exactly where we left off. So it's a really great tool, but you can use it for way more than family history. All right. So the last section is making it fun. Now, this is a critical component because when we're trying to think of how we can share it with other people, it really does require making it fun, right? We have so many people in our lives and everyone's interests are different. And our hobby just happens to be like the coolest hobby around. So we just want to help other people discover that, right? So as we are trying to make it fun, all we have to do is learn to recognize the tools that make it fun, but also keep in mind a big thing I recommend is being aware of who you're trying to help, because if you can pay attention to what their interests are, you can almost always figure out a way to make it fun for them. So we're going to start where we're all used to, right? BYU Technology Labs. And the cool thing here is they have updated a ton, and there are some new really cool tools on their site. And so if you haven't looked lately, you need to get on there and look. But I'm going to just talk through a few of them. But Relative Finder, you've probably all heard of that one. You can see how you're related to famous people. But I've used that one in research too, because there's times when you find new, like, okay, I was helping my aunt scan a whole bunch of things one time, and we found all of these deeds. And I was like, what on earth? But we didn't recognize the name. It was a Lyman, which is my maiden name. But that was it. Like, I didn't have a clue who he was or how he was related. So we got into Relative Finder and typed in his name. I'm trying to remember how we did it, but basically we figured it out using Relative Finder, and that's how it connected us and showed us that connection. So I thought that was a really cool way to use it. But obviously Relative Finder is a great way to engage almost anyone, because you can do scientists, you can do famous people. And so, how many of us have Disney people that love Disney, right? Like, get in there and see how they're related to Disney, and they're like so thrilled. So just getting them in and thinking about it that way. And then of course they have all of their ancestor games and Genealogist and Wheel of Family Fortune. I cannot tell you how much, even still after these have been here for 10 years, probably at least. I still have people that are like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I think those of us who are in the genealogy space are like, oh, it's old news. No, it's not to most people. Most people are so excited to do it. And the cool thing about Genealogist is you can change, most of these, you can change it to be a person ID's number. So then you don't have to worry about, you can do it at a family party and it's only the people who are there, like put in grandma or grandpa's name. And now it just shows questions for them. So it's not, so you can tailor it to whatever situation you're in. And Wheel of Fortune, I remember playing it as a kid. My kids still play it. They love it. And hey, it teaches them their letters and words at the same time. So double bonus here. A couple of on that site, they have the whole new section, and they have a couple of cool ones. So you got to go check them out, because they have a new section called Family Tech Games. And what they've done is they've taken all of their old games that were the ancestor games. So the crosswords and the word scramble and the matching game, and they've made them all digitally interactive. So you can get in there and play them digitally now, which is super cool. And they're still working on it. So go check that one out. Those are all fun ways to make it fun. Another one, if you have a family member who's about to have a baby, they have the baby name generator, and you can punch in your tree and it'll give you names from your tree, suggested names from your tree. So you can help them find a name that way. And I always have to point out family calendar. Family Search will do this too, but if you install your family calendar, then it can help you so I'll download it and install it on my Google Calendar so that it alerts me on my phone of different events in my tree. And that is fun, because then you can celebrate birthdays whenever you want. You can have cake whenever you want. You can, one of them that I like is when I have a kid doing something and I'm like, oh, did you know that it's so-and-so's anniversary today? And then it kind of opens up some dialogue. So it's a fun way to help make connections to other significant events in your family's life. So I recommend going in and exploring, because they're always coming up with new ones in there and making it really fun. The other one that most of you, I'm sure, have seen and done is the family history activities page. And of course, you, I'm sure, have spent time on it. But once again, they're always adding new tools. And I love, one of the things I just recommend is if you are a genealogist and you've already seen these before, keep, what am I trying to say? Keep coming back and trying to think like other people, trying to think like, oh, would they like that? Could this help them? Things like that, right? Because like the All About Me one can relate, can click with so many people. Just, you know, if you have a sports fan, get in there and tell them who won the World Series the year they were born. If you have someone who just, you know, a younger kid, the compare face is super. I'm always surprised how much people love that one. Young and old, people really connect when they see that they look like their family. It gives them a deeper connection to things. So I think some of us that are genealogists take those things for granted because maybe they seem like fluff, but the fluff is what turns their hearts and makes them excited and connected. So, yeah, keep on checking those out. There's one that I was going to point out, and that is, maybe if I can click on it correctly. No. Oh, there we go. That was the relatives around me. Okay, we're just going to skip it because you guys know how to do that one probably. But if not, do the relatives around me and then the map my ancestors. Oh, I have to mention map my ancestors because I love doing that one on a trip. Whenever we're on a trip, because we like to travel. We were in Yellowstone and I found family activities that were close by. And I thought that was really cool. I found like places that I haven't expected to have family events, I've had them. So always check out my ancestors when you're on a trip. It might create some really cool connection experiences. And then let's see, family history activities connects also to that. And oh, this last one, that's what I wanted to show. The Where Am I From one is one of my very favorites. There's so much interaction that can be done on this one discovery experience. So go connect, you know, we had a pandemic, kids can relate to that. Go connect to the other people, to the people in your tree who have who lived through the Spanish flu. How can you relate to them? What are the things that went there? Learn about the culture that your ancestors came from. This one, if you click into this and click up on your family tree line, it will map out and show you when they came across, and it'll follow where they were born. So you can kind of see the routes of your family tree and where they lived and how they came and where they migrated to and things like that. So that one's kind of fun. So there's a lot of different ways to explore and get to know your own heritage through this little app here. That's the Spanish flu one. So, all right. And then the last one, or no, two more. This one is Clan View, and this one is, please go check it out. It is so cool. I don't have a video of it, but Clan View is one that was introduced right before COVID too, and it is an interactive tree. You can see it's very 3D and very modern. It's a really fun tool. Go play with it. It's another fun one. I think a lot of times, you know, you'll get a youth or even an older person, just people who aren't maybe necessarily drawn to like the dates and the charts and the stories, but they're really intrigued with like the interactivity of a tree. And someone I saw mentioned virtual pedigree. That's another one you can do on the BYU Family History Technology site. Both, that's an interactive one too, but try Clan View. You get in there and you can kind of explore, and it's like a 3D experience. You can kind of go around these people, and it's a really fun experience. So go check that one out as well. But anyway, climbing trees, being interactive with the trees can a lot of times get some different people excited. All right, the last part is, I just want to introduce with this quote: "A good hobby can dispel heartache and give zest to life." So this kind of leads into, I taught this class, like I said, back at Roots Tech 2020, and right after, so Roots Tech happened, COVID shut down where I live in Utah in March. So it was literally like a week and a half after Roots Tech was over that COVID had shut us down. And during that time, I had a lot on my mind with heartache, and, you know, there was a lot going on. And I had the opportunity to put together a resource with some incredible people. So I took all of the thoughts from this class and all of these tools, as well as combining with the passion of some people that I had met through Roots Tech and through different genealogy channels. And we were able to put together a project that's near and dear to my heart, and that's called the Family Connections Experiment. So it's a 21-day project, and we kicked it off the May of pandemic. And our goal was to measure the psychological benefits of connecting more with family, past and present. And when we started it, we were just going to do it one time. It ended up becoming quite large and ended up consuming a couple of years of my life, but that's good. It kept me busy during COVID, so that's good. But basically what it became was a huge resource full of easy and fun ways to connect with your family. So I went over a whole bunch of tools today, and this tool will really bring them all together. You can do all those things in this one. One of the things I felt the most passionate about getting together for this project is that connections idea generator that you can see there. And basically what it is a whole bunch of ideas that you can do in 5 minutes or less for connecting with your family. So I can't think of a better tool for a hobbyist genealogist than a tool that you can click, and you just click it and it gives you an idea. If you don't like that one, click it again and get another one. We have hundreds of ideas in there, and it's full of links and tools, and it will provide you with the resources to do the idea if possible. So definitely go check that out. It also has, if you click the choose connection, it will take you in to select a 21-day plan. You can take, which I love, you can take a pre and post experiment survey and connect for 21 days, and you can just measure how much your mood improves. And we send you both surveys so that you can get it. And it's all just automated now. We don't really work on it anymore, but it's all still there. We'll leave it up as long as we can, and it's pretty cheap to leave it. So I intend to leave it for a long time, but all those resources are free, and I recommend going and grabbing them and playing with them. There's 21-day plans for families. There's 21-day plans for teens, for tech people. There's genealogy boot camp, and just tons of different plans that will make connecting easier and make your genealogy easier. So I feel like it's an excellent tool for a hobbyist genealogist, but it will also help you kind of recognize and experience the benefits of connecting, which I think all of us who are hobbyist genealogists already know those benefits, but sometimes it helps us to get the ideas to help bring other people in who are needing the power from those connections. So go check that one out. There's lots of, I guess I'll mention, we just partnered with different people who helped us out. And this really great guy who works at BYU, Matt, I'm blanking suddenly. Anyway, he helped us create some cute games. So there's several games in there that help you connect with family, like an interview generator that asks questions and you can answer them really quickly. And there's also like a dinner conversation starter, but it's all questions about your family and keeps people going and engaging. So there's some fun tools that way, as well as in addition to the connections idea generator and the 21-day plans. So, but in closing, hobbies are a delight because of the pure joy they provide to the hobbyist, making hours pass like minutes. And I love that because I know all of you can relate to it. When I get doing family history, I was doing it earlier with my friend. We do it on Wednesdays, and I was like, oh my gosh, how did it become 2? I've got to get ready for my class. So it passes so fast, and I'm just so thrilled to be able to. I hope that you learned one new tool today. I'm going to put it on this one so you can take a picture or a screenshot or whatever. But anyway, I'm just thrilled to be able to share these tools with you. If you have additional tools that you think I should include in my repertoire, I would love for you to share them with me. Throw them in the comments. Maybe I can have Olivia send them to me, or feel free to email me. On my next slide, I'll put my email up, but I would love to hear more tech tools. Tech tools are my joy and happiness in life. So if you have any that I didn't mention that you're like, this, you must add, please share it with me, and reach out if you want copies of the slides or any of those things. I'm happy to share them. And I think that is it. So I will ask you one question. What's your family history folder going to look like? I want you to start considering what tools you're going to add to yours. And then here is my info. If you want to reach out or see my blog, I'll admit I don't update it very often. The connections experiment kind of took over my life for a couple of years. And since we kind of put that one to rest, I've been just focusing on raising kitties. So that's fun and good. And I'm happy to help where I can. So just reach out. I'd love to answer questions, and that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Olivia. We have a few comments in the chat, but I can send those to you later. They're mostly just suggestions for other apps and other comments.
Okay. Yeah. I'm looking quickly, and I'm like, yes, the to-do list on the Family Search homepage. I use that a ton too. So thank you for pointing that one out. Carol, I appreciate that. I don't have time to read it while I was talking because I talk too fast. But yes. Oh, and StoryCorps. Thank you for mentioning that, Carol. Oh, thank you. I love StoryCorps as well. Oh my gosh, thank you. Yes. Thank you, Olivia.
Perfect. We'll go ahead and close. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you will join us for our next webinar, which is on November 17th with Maureen Brady. She will be giving a presentation entitled Researching Religious Records. A recording of this webinar will be made available next week. You can view that on our YouTube channel or on our website. If you have any comments or questions, you can always email us at fhl_webinars@byu.edu or follow Facebook and Twitter. Thank you and have a wonderful week.